The steady drizzle outside softened the morning light as it filtered through the cafe's large front windows. It was a small place nestled between two aging bookstores on the quieter end of the street, a modest establishment with creaky wooden floors, hand-painted menus, and the smell of warm pastries hanging in the air like comfort itself. Nathan Carter adjusted the collar of his coat and looked at his watch. He wasn't used to this kind of place. He was more accustomed to boardrooms, catered meetings, and sleek hotel lobbies, but this cafe had become something of a safe haven. Not for him, but for the little girl sitting across the table, her feet dangling above the floor, wheelchair parked neatly beside her. Emily, his daughter, 8 years old, though her eyes seemed older, more tired than any child's should be. Her thin hands fiddled with the sleeve of her jacket, and she stared at the counter without blinking. She hadn't spoken in public since the accident, since the crash that took her mother's life and left her legs motionless. The world had turned silent for her after that, not because she couldn't speak, but because she chose not to. Her smile had gone with her mother. Nathan had tried everything: therapists, special educators, expensive clinics. He'd poured his wealth into treatments, but money couldn't mend what was broken deep inside her. Emily didn't scream, she didn't cry, she simply existed quietly, her spirit folded inward. Today was supposed to be just another attempt. Another, normal outing, the kind of thing her grief counselor encouraged. Nathan didn't believe in these little outings anymore, but he obeyed, because hope, even tired and bitter, still flickered somewhere deep inside him. He followed her gaze to the display counter. Rows of pastries sat behind the glass, chocolate muffins, powdered donuts, and one tray filled with heart-shaped sugar cookies decorated with red icing. Her eyes rested on that tray the longest. Nathan stood up to walk over and buy her one, but before he could move, a voice approached. "Hi there, sweetheart," came a gentle tone. He turned to see a waitress crouched beside Emily. She had kind brown eyes, tied back hair escaping its bun, and an apron dusted with flour. Her name tag read, Rachel. Emily blinked at her, unsure, unprepared for someone to speak directly to her. Rachel smiled. "I saw you looking at the cookie tray. Want to help me choose the best one? I need an expert opinion." There was no pressure in her voice. No sympathy, no awkwardness. Just warmth. Emily hesitated, then glanced at the cookie tray again and, almost imperceptibly, nodded. Nathan straightened in his seat, frozen. That tiny movement, such a small response, meant the world. "I'll be right back," Rachel whispered, giving Emily a wink. She returned a minute later with a sugar cookie on a napkin, large, heart-shaped, with a swirl of pink frosting in the center. She set it gently in front of Emily and smiled. "I think this one won the contest, don't you?" Emily reached for the cookie with shaking fingers, her arms weak. But as she struggled, Rachel didn't wait or watch awkwardly. She quietly slid into the booth beside her and helped guide the cookie into her hands. Then, when Emily still couldn't hold it steady, Rachel took a piece, broke it gently, and offered it to her with the care of someone who understood. Emily bit into it, and then, like a miracle, she giggled. It was soft and brief, like a breeze over a still lake, but it was real. Her eyes lit up, and crumbs clung to her lips as she chewed. Nathan's throat tightened. It felt like someone had broken open a dam inside him. He wanted to say thank you, wanted to say something profound, but no words came. He stared at this waitress, this stranger, who had just done what no one else could. Rachel wiped a crumb from Emily's cheek with the edge of a napkin. "You've got a little frosting armor now. You're ready for battle," she teased gently. Emily grinned. Nathan finally cleared his throat. "You didn't have to do that," he said, his voice unsteady. Rachel looked up, her expression calm. "I didn't do it for you." And that was all she said. No fuss, no flourish, just stood, nodded politely, and walked off to serve another table. Nathan watched her go, watched the way she moved, her tired feet still light with purpose. In the span of 5 minutes, she had accomplished something no therapy, no school, no expert had. She had reached his daughter. And Nathan Carter, millionaire, problem solver, fixer of everything, sat in silence, knowing deep down that his life had just shifted, though he didn't yet know how much. The bell above the cafe door chimed softly as Nathan stepped inside again the next afternoon, this time without Emily. The place was quieter today. A little rain still lingered outside, misting the windows and giving the morning a quiet, thoughtful feel. Nathan brushed droplets off his coat and scanned the room. Rachel was there. She moved from table to table, balancing a tray of dirty dishes with practiced ease. Her apron was even more worn than yesterday, her bun a little messier, and yet, she had the same gentle way about her. She smiled at a toddler trying to drink from a straw and offered a refill to a quiet college student without being asked. Her attention to the smallest details struck Nathan again. She hadn't seen him yet, so he waited until she passed by his table and stopped her with a soft, "Excuse me." She looked up, surprised but not uncomfortable. "You're Emily's dad, right?" He nodded. "Nathan Carter. I wanted to thank you, for yesterday." She smiled but didn't say much. Just wiped her hands on her apron and nodded slightly. Nathan reached into his coat and pulled out a crisp $100 bill, setting it gently on the table. "This is for the time you took, for the kindness. You got through to her. That hasn't happened in a long time." Rachel looked at the money, then back at him, shaking her head slowly. "I'm sorry, I can't accept that." Nathan blinked. "It's not charity, I know," she replied calmly. "But I didn't help her for a tip. And I'm not comfortable taking something for simply being human." Her words caught him off guard. Not in a defensive way, but in a way that peeled something open in him. He sighed and leaned back in the chair, genuinely curious now. "Why did you do it then?" Rachel hesitated, then glanced at the cafe counter, as if deciding whether to tell the truth. Then she sat down at the edge of the booth, still holding the tray against her hip. "My brother, Jesse, was born with cerebral palsy," she said. "He used a wheelchair for most of his life. I raised him. Our parents were not really in the picture. It was just him and me." Nathan listened quietly. She didn't tell the story like she wanted pity, she told it like it was simply part of her. "We didn't have help," she went on. "People stared, most just ignored us, but the worst were the ones who tried too hard, who talked to Jesse like he was broken or invisible. So I learned to treat him like everyone else. I made him laugh. I treated him with respect, not pity. That's all I did for Emily." Nathan studied her face. There were no polished words, no practiced lines. Just honesty. "What happened to him, your brother?" he asked gently. Rachel's eyes softened. "He passed away 3 years ago. A seizure in his sleep. He was 16. Nathan's throat tightened. "I'm sorry," she nodded. "Me too, but I promised him I'd go into nursing one day, to help kids like him. That's what I'm working toward now. School's expensive, so I wait tables, stock shelves, work nights at a nursing home. It's slow, but I'll get there." Nathan reached into his coat again, this time pulling out a black business card with silver lettering. He placed it between them on the table. "My foundation helps fund education for people exactly like you. Nursing students, caregivers, people who want to make a real difference." Rachel glanced at the card, cautious. "I don't want special treatment just because I helped your daughter." "This isn't special treatment," Nathan replied. "This is recognition, and opportunity. You're already doing the work, just without the tools you deserve." She looked at the card again. Slowly, thoughtfully. "And what do you want in return?" Nathan smiled. "Absolutely nothing. You've already given us more than you know. My daughter hasn't smiled like that in years. Whatever you gave her, it was more than a cookie." Rachel didn't answer right away. She ran a finger along the edge of the card, then finally met his eyes. "I'll think about it," she said. "Please do," he replied, standing up. "My assistant's number is on the back. Tell her you're Rachel, the one who made Emily laugh." As he turned to leave, Rachel watched him go, card still in her hand. She had no idea that her entire life had just begun to shift, like a tide changing quietly beneath calm waters. But deep down, part of her already felt it. 2 years later, the same cafe, now with brighter walls, a kid's corner, and a wheelchair-accessible ramp. A sign over the door reads, "Emily's Place, a cafe with heart." Inside, laughter filled the air. Children colored, people chatted, and behind the counter stood Rachel, now in a crisp white nursing coat, taking a shift she no longer needed to, but chose to. She had passed her board exams, but still loved coming back here, where it all started. Nathan entered, holding Emily's hand. The girl now smiled often, spoke more, and even helped her dad run his charity foundation. She rolled herself up to Rachel and held out a fresh-baked cookie. "Miss Rachel, I saved the biggest one for you." Rachel laughed, crouching to hug her. "You always do." Nathan watched from behind, heart full. 2 years ago, Rachel had fed his daughter's heart. Now, she was part of their family. And thanks to her courage and kindness, he'd found more than a nurse, or a friend. He'd found hope again. Months turned into years, but the impact of one small act of kindness never faded. Rachel accepted the scholarship, completed nursing school, and returned, not to chase wealth or recognition, but to give back in the way she always dreamed. With Nathan's support, she helped open a children's rehabilitation clinic alongside the cafe they lovingly named Emily's Place. It became more than a coffee shop. It was a haven for children with disabilities and their families, a space where inclusion wasn't charity, but a way of life. Emily, once silent and withdrawn, grew into a vibrant young girl, still in a wheelchair, but full of laughter and creativity. Her walls had come down, not because of expensive treatment, but because someone had seen her not as broken, but as a child who deserved connection. As for Nathan, the man who had always tried to fix things with money, he discovered something far richer. That healing often starts with humility, and that not all heroes wear suits, some wear aprons, carry trays, and give away cookies without expecting anything in return. And so, what began as a simple moment between a waitress and a quiet little girl blossomed into a lifelong bond between three souls, proof that one act of kindness, freely given, can change the course of many lives forever.